Welcome to this author's interview series. My name is Christina Theodoraki. I'm editor of Small Business Economics and Entrepreneurship Journal, and I have the great honor to interview today Pontus Braunerhjelm from KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm in Sweden. Welcome, Pontus, and thank you very, very much for accepting to participate in this author's interview series and also to share your knowledge with us today.
Thank you very much, Christina. It's a pleasure to be part of this.
So Pontus is going to give us more insight on his recently published paper, which is entitled Inventions, Commercialization Strategies and Knowledge Spillovers in SMEs. This paper is published in Small Business Economics in August 2023. And this paper is co-authored with Roger Svensson from the Research Institute of Industrial Economics from Sweden. So Pontus, let me start my first question. Can you describe us what is the paper about, what is the story behind the article, and give us more of a brief description on this article?
Okay, I give it a go at least. So what we try to do here is to analyze how different commercialization strategies of inventions influence knowledge spillovers. And more precisely, we have defined four different strategies. First, that the inventor starts a new firm. Second, that the commercialization takes place within an existing firm, either where the inventor is an employee or where he or she has an owner stake. And finally, one could commercialize by licensing or selling the patent. And then we investigate which one of these that generates the most social knowledge spillovers. So I'm sure you're aware that social knowledge spillovers have been addressed from a number of different angles. You have spillovers within the firm, knowledge spillovers between firms and industries, the spatial dimension, growth, productivity, etc. But this particular issue has not been addressed in previous research, at least as far as we could find when we started this paper.
I'd like to thank you for pointing this very important paper, and we are quite attached with the journal in this knowledge spillover theory of entrepreneurship, and one of our editor-in-chief has been extremely contributed to the knowledge spillover theory of entrepreneurship. So we understand why spillovers is extremely important. And the question of every editor in the journal is why this paper matters, why it is important, how it contributes, what is the main contribution. So can you please tell us why this article is important, and if you can give more emphasis on what we learned from this paper that we haven't covered and we didn't know from previous research already done?
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I don't think that this particular issue has been addressed before. And since knowledge spillovers are so important, both for an economy's development, but also at the firm level, so that's why this research carries important implications. It has definitely policy implications, but also for the inventor or for the firm, how to handle a patent once it is granted, and how can one best try to commercialize this new idea, this invention. So we believe that this actually is providing new pathways of how to maximize the outcome societally from an invention, actually, in terms of knowledge spillovers.
I'd like to go in the very early stage of this paper, because we know that when we enter in the revision process, sometimes we enter in this compromise and discussion with the reviewers to have the final output. But if we go in this first moment, you have this eureka moment of the idea generation of this research paper. How this idea came from? What was this first moment that you decided to work and extend this research project?
Well, I have always been interested in knowledge spillovers, and you mentioned the knowledge spillover theory of entrepreneurship that I and Sultan Axe, David Aldrich, and Bo Carlson came up with some 10 years or more back. So this is always something that is part of the ideas I try to pursue and the research issues that exists when I discuss research with colleagues and so on. So this particular idea came up in a dialogue with my co-author, Roger Svensson. And then we realized that we actually had access to data where we had different commercialization strategies defined. And then we started to look into the previous literature. Has this been done before? What can we learn from that literature? But we couldn't really find anything. We find some adjacent research questions that have been addressed, but not this particular one. So then we said, well, let's have a go at it and see what we can find from this survey data that we have then. So that's how it's all started. And then it took some time, of course, before it became a publishable paper, but we're very happy to have it in the SPJ, of course.
So we're extremely glad also to host this very, very important topic. And can you tell us what's the future now? What's the future directions? What probably research you are on, or what research you would like to see to further explore and develop knowledge spillover, whether commercialization strategies or invention? What we did, what you didn't have the opportunity to explore, and what we need to continue to investigate to advance this topic.
No, but I hope that others will continue to explore this vein of research and also implement other data sources. Now, we were restricted to survey data because it's hard to find data on commercialization strategies. But hopefully there is other databases around and other researchers that will try to do similar things to what we have done. And refine our analysis and perhaps also use time series data if possible, which we did not have. So I think there is ample possibilities to extend and develop and refine the analysis that we have pursued in this paper. And I hope that this will take place also. Given that data on these issues is hard to find, I think my own research will now go into somewhat different directions. I'm working on entrepreneurial human capital right now, which is a new type of capital that we have defined, me and a colleague. And we look at how employees with previous experience of entrepreneurship, how that affects firm performance. And we have a paper in research policy last year. But we're doing more work on this particular issue now. So we like to see whether former entrepreneurs now being employed, do they impact productivity? Yes, we did find that they actually did, and quite substantially in this paper that is published. Now we carry on with looking at innovations and sales and other performance data, and also looking at regional dimensions of this. Is this part of the urban premium that we talk about? Is this more important in rural areas, etc.? So that will preoccupy my time for the future now, the next year or so at least. Then I'm also doing research on, this is an old issue of course, but institutions and type of entrepreneurship. And philanthropy, which is a little bit peripheral perhaps to this issue, but I look at how donations to universities impact the university's knowledge output in terms of patents and publications. So these are some of the areas that I work in right now and will continue for the next coming years.
Extremely interesting, and also to see, and we will be delighted to see also contribution in the journal in these topics, to see how also entrepreneurial, as you say, employees with previous entrepreneurial experience could also change, motivate, change the performance, but also the practices within the company and be more entrepreneurial, and also contribute to help spill over all this knowledge created. but also the part with the patents and how we transform the knowledge and the research created from institutions, whether through donations or other means, can spill over. And actually, I'm arriving to my last question, and I'm extremely curious also because we have opened a lot of times this discussion about inventions, how we commercialize, and we can transform this invention to become more valuable outcomes, so through innovation, and also this is the goal of the spillover. And sometimes invention and knowledge doesn't spill over to the society and has an impact. And a lot of research and editors, we're trying to see in this research what is the practical implication, how your findings can be applied, how you can help societies implement to spill over finally this knowledge created. For example, to give a concrete example, earlier we were saying that I come from Greece. Greece has a beautiful knowledge created, and sometimes we have been restricted to the universities creating knowledge for its own sake. And even though you have all this important knowledge created, or whether through patents, it doesn't spill over to become a valuable outcome and continue to contribute to the economic development. So what would be how we can apply your findings, and also do you have any advices to give or insights for practitioners to implement the findings of your study?
I think that's an extremely important issue that you address there. And I think this is also something that is a bit stepmotherly treated in the endogenous growth model, or the knowledge growth models, that we accumulate knowledge and that is then supposed to generate growth. But we tend to forget that the diffusing mechanisms are as important, I would say. And entrepreneurs is one, and labor mobility may be another one, so on and so forth. But in this particular case, what we do, or what the findings suggest, is that the traditional measures to stimulate inventions, which is basically R&D, incentives of different kinds, but also support for startups, that they should be complemented with measures that takes into account the commercialization aspect of inventions. And I think this is a way to leverage those policies that have been implemented since long. So that is one, concrete suggestion that emanates from this finding. The other would be that also for inventors and firms, it's important to have an idea about what strategy of commercializations that would generate the best outcome, because obviously we're looking at the social knowledge spillover effect and not the private effect for the firm. But I think that there is a correlation between the two. So also for firms and inventors, particularly small and medium-sized firms, I think these are important findings. We do put the limelight on entrepreneurs and new firm formation, and that is correct in many ways. And many of the really radical inventions we know and innovations, that they do stem from the small and young firms, but not always. And inventors tend sometimes to be a little bit over-optimistic about the possibility to come up with a breakthrough thing. Even if it's genius, the market may not believe in it to the same extent as the inventor. So also there, it has relevance, I would say, the findings that we come up with in this piece of work.
Pontus, we're arriving at the end of this interview. I would like to personally thank you very, very much for this important study, for accepting to share your insight with us today. Any last advice for the readers of your paper? Any recommendation while reading through your paper?
I don't really know if I have any reader's advice, but I would just say read it and try to develop it further, what we come up with. We have, as I said, a relatively limited data set, and hopefully there are other data sets around that we are not aware of, but that could be implemented in this type of analysis. So that would be great, I think.
Definitely. And I'll join also to you because all research has also some limits, but the research advances by also advances and continue to explore research directions. And I would like to encourage our readers to download your paper from the Springer's website, read, and come back to you and see more research on this a very important topic. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much. And what you say implies that this paper would also be part of a type of knowledge spillover, which would be fantastic. So thanks a lot for the opportunity.